On today's episode of Kilts and Culture with USA Kilts, Guinness Irn Bru. Oh yeah, this is happening.
We are trying the now internet famous or infamous Guinness Irn Bru cocktail. Just to reiterate.
Yeah. That's
here's our my pour attempt.
Yeah,
Not too bad.
I'm pleased with the pour attempts.
Yeah.
It's definitely worked.
What I like is the bubbles coming up through the Irn Bru. It's like a poor man's lava lamp.
The online name is Iron Gin, which I think is absolutely shite. You don't call a half and half a Baskin. You don't call a cider Guinness a Cygin. Why would you call this an Iron Gin? Doesn't make sense. So, three of us got to come up with names.
I got
what
one.
we think this should be called.
I got one. I'm going to pretend it's classier than it is. I'm going to call it a Dublin Sunset.
Dublin Sunset.
Dublin Sunset.
I like the classiness there. I like it. Nothing says class like Irn Bru. Mac.
I had two floating around.
Okay.
But I will go with one of the two.
Okay.
I'm going with Black and Brew.
Black and Brew.
Black and Brew.
Black
I like
and
that. I like that. That's more
Okay,
appropriate.
okay.
Yep.
This one was inspired by my son. When we were I showed him the video telling him what we were going to do online. And he said, "Dad, that's orange and black. That's a Flyers drink." And I was like, "Damn it, boy, you're brilliant." So, how do I appropriately honor the Flyers with this drink?
Uh-oh.
You ready for this?
I'm not sure I am.
This one was a little bit of a mixture, and Lucas helped with this naming as well.
Oh, now I'm really scared.
I've cheated a little bit.
Okay.
This is, what the heck did he call it? I forgot. I forget the name of it. Oh, no, I got it. Okay. Gritty Fuel.
Gritty Fuel?
Okay.
Gritty Fuel. I think it actually works. If there are two characteristics of the mascot Gritty, he is hyperactive and he kind of seems drunk. If he was fueled by something, I would imagine it would be something like this.
Okay. I can't remember. Is Irn Bru caffeinated?
I know there's a hell of a lot of sugar in it.
I have one other name.
Oh, I'd
like to put forward one more.
All right.
North Sea Oil Slick.
The Irish guy that tried this also did. There's a blue. They called that an oil slick because there's water and oil on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
never mind then.
I get the North Sea part because it's the Scottish.
Exactly.
I get it.
Scotland and
I get it. All you out there, tell us which name you think fits best. And spoiler alert, the answer is Gritty Fuel. All right.
Not according to the results so far.
Shh. Lie to us, Mac.
There's mud in your eye.
Yes. All right. Now, see if we can taste the Guinness or the Irn Bru. Mac.
I'm confused.
I'm.
Me and Erik kind of have the same reaction going on right now.
I don't hate it, but I'm not sure I like it either.
I'm not getting. I'm so far. I don't know if I'm not tilting it enough. I'm just getting Guinness. I'm not really getting Irn Bru much.
You want my first impression?
Mm-hmm.
If a root beer lollipop could go bad, it tastes like.
Okay.
It tastes like bad root beer.
I get where, yeah.
Like root beer that's been in the sun in your car for a summer and it started to ferment. It's just, this is weird.
I see what you're saying about the root beer thing. To me, it tastes much more chocolatey. So I'm getting like a bad, rancidy, sweet, fake chocolate candy flavor.
Yeah, it reminds me of like you got that soda that you left in the car at the beginning of the weekend at a camping trip, and you're going home and you're like, who cares? I'm gonna drink it anyway.
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah. Tastes like flat chocolatey root beer.
I just want my Guinness and I want my Irn Bru in separate glasses.
I'm disappointed.
Well, I thought
it was going to be better.
I was kind of hoping I would like, because I'm a real big fan of black velvets and snake bites. I will definitely take my stout and a cider or stout and something else, but it's just this doesn't quite work like I was hoping it would. I thought just for giggles this would be fun, but it's not.
Yeah, I was hoping to give it like a weirdly positive review. And
I mean, I'll finish it because now I'm just getting mostly.
now I
Iron
have
Brew.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm just getting Iron Brew at this point. But
It's a thing of pride. You have to finish this. Yeah, Mac. What's your take on it?
I'm still confused. I think part of it, maybe if the Iron Brew was colder, because we didn't really have that too cold.
Yeah, these were both they're like room temperature.
So
They weren't cold.
I'd argue a good drink shouldn't have to depend on the temperature.
Agreed.
But-
A bad drink
But
will.
I don't disagree. I think if it was chilled,
It'd be a
cellar temperature.
Yes.
Cellar temperature.
It might be at least tolerable.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the trick.
Well, now I got.
Because there's a little. What are you doing?
He's going all in
There's an
now.
open beer. You don't leave an open beer.
I mean, a little Guinness and mostly Iron Brew. It starts to taste like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, now that you've said that, now that because I was trying to figure out what exactly that taste was, and it does taste more like flat Coke now.
Yeah, and what I just did when I poured that Guinness in, I didn't pour it over a spoon, so it mixed with the Iron Brew that was in there. It tastes like a rancid cherry Coke. I got a little. It's like
I was about to follow your lead
No,
here,
but
and now you got
it's.
me
I
one.
don't want to say rancid. All right, fine. It's not rancid. Tastes wonderful like cherry Coke.
We are getting a few people saying mixing it together and
Is
not
better.
pouring it over the spoon is better. So,
Yeah, so
we are
yeah,
getting a few.
People are just pouring over the spoon for the visual, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
So you do it for the
yeah.
gram, Eric.
Just for the
That's what the kids say now. You do it for the gram, son.
Right.
Yeah, this tastes like a funky soda now.
Soda.
Like a cream ale.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Like
I
a-
almost have a vanilla
Yeah.
creamy. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's our tip, I guess, is don't
Well-
bother with the visual.
Oh, do the visual, take the picture, and then swirl it all
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Ugh.
That good, huh?
I don't know. I'm still confused, like Max said.
I know, my brain hurts with this. It's
That's not all that's gonna hurt. Just give it a while.
Is Iron Brew a hangover cure, right? So this
Yes.
should cancel each other
yeah,
out.
exactly. You're gonna be like wide awake from the sugar, drunk from the Guinness, and you won't have a hangover.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, it's something.
I mean, I don't want to waste it.
I know. No, we gotta kill it. You gotta do it. All right. While we're suffering through this, Mac, score 1 to 10.
I'm going 5 because I'm still confused. I'm going right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I could go either
5?
way with this.
Even that high?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get 5. Middle of the road.
Okay. Tastes like a really, really sweet Guinness now.
And that's what the people who like it said that. I mean, it was basically just it was Guinness but sweet was their thing. I remember from the one in video I watched.
Yeah, when you mix it, you definitely get that.
All right, so
Yeah.
we are getting a few people saying it is better cold, and the one guy here, Chuck, just says that his is almost near frozen. So,
Okay.
in temperature might have something to do with this.
Okay. So, Eric, score 1 to 10.
4.2.
4.2.
It's a novelty, and yeah, okay, I'll try it again sometime at home, cold. But I wouldn't go out and waste my Guinness and my Iron Brew on this again.
4.1. It improves on the Guinness for me, but it definitely.
You're a tenth lower
Yeah.
than my score.
Yeah.
I said 4.2, right?
I
I think I said 4.2.
don't remember what you say.
Held down. the peanut gallery now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's our review of the gritty fuel.
So yeah, I think we can put this to bed.
Wait for the next
If
thing.
you have ideas for oddball things we can do, we like doing the Scotch, and we want to continue doing the Scotch. But once in a while, it's fun to change it up. If you have ideas for something like this we should try on the show, let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there any clear winner on the naming of it?
There was quite a few names going around.
Any,
There was write-in candidates.
Are there any that are repeatable?
We did have quite a few. Black and Brew seemed to be one of the popular ones.
Yeah, I think I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few that we probably shouldn't say back on air. But yeah,
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had a good amount here.
I'm just gonna be doing that the rest of the show. I'm just gonna like.
Yeah.
All
Making
right,
some faces.
I'm moving my mini bar out of the way here.
Yeah. I'm gonna dim this back to the hell it came from.
Is that on camera? Should I move the table more?
No, you're good, Eric.
Is it unaesthetic?
All right.
Rusty Harp. Rusty Harp was the one.
Rusty harp.
Rusty Harp.
Rusty harp.
Is that like a rusty venture? If you know that, then you're a nerd. You know what I'm referencing there.
All right. Boys and girls, load in your questions. Anything kilt culture related, Guinness and Irn Bru related for some odd reason, load them on in. We will happily answer whatever questions you have to throw at us as best we can. Mr. Erik, we'll start with you.
Yeah. And this is a question that we got some time ago, and it caused quite a bit of thought for both of us, actually. So I'm thinking this is a,
Good starting point.
this is a good starting point, and we may discuss quite a bit. But Gary Vaught, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Gary, who's one of our YouTube viewers, had basically
What's up,
said,
G?
"Sup, G?" He had said that his story is basically he bought a utility kilt at Faire. He paid around $150 for it, and it's one of the black canvas with the tartan insets. He's saying that as far as he could tell, the tartan insets on the kilt were kind of a flannel-like material as opposed to the main body of the kilt being canvas. And it was starting to show some dirt, so he tried to wash it in the machine and then laid it out to dry, best practices like we described. Tried very carefully to press it, but he's not getting good results. He's saying, I'm still unable to get satisfactory results. Is there any other way to do this? Or basically, is this I'm just going to have to chalk this up to a lesson learned, because right now it's really not presentable in public. It feels like I'm going to have to use it as just a chores around the house kilt only. Basically, he's worn it, washed it once, and now it's looking like shite. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack with that story.
Yeah, it's ironing kilts that have insets in the pleats can be a bit tricky. I think they tend to be box pleated. Yeah, didn't you have one of those or no?
I've never had an tartan inset one. I wanted one because
Right.
I'm in the camp of thinking that they're kind of a cool, modern expression. But my concern was always that I would not be able to find one that was of a sufficient quality level that I'd feel comfortable with it.
Right.
I mean, there's some really cool things out there, but I cannot tell personally the difference between one that's made to a decent level of quality and one that's basically a novelty product.
Right.
And I'm afraid what he happened to get is a novelty kilt, essentially.
Yeah. My sense on it is the ones I've seen tend to be acrylic insets in the pleats, and then cotton for the actual outer layer.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of concern. Will the cotton shrink where the acrylic won't? Will the cotton take wrinkles differently than the acrylic? How do you can iron it? It may be a little bit more tricky to iron when you mix fabrics like that don't have the same shrink rate or don't both iron the same way. Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's when we first started, we would use way back in my day. Back, when we first started USA Kilts, we would use basically whatever kind of fabric we could find. This is before we knew of the mills to get the stuff from. Before we had any sources, we would just kind of buy fabric that we found on Fabric Row down in Philadelphia, and not all of it was suited for a kilt. So luckily, we kind of, we figured out, where to get the fabric from. We learned of all the mills in Scotland, and we started opening up accounts with all the mills. So we figured it out pretty quickly. So there wasn't a whole lot out there with our name on it of lesser quality fabric. But ultimately, I don't know. It's a tough one. When we design a product, there's a couple different ways and thought processes when you design something. One is you want it to be able to sell. So some companies will start with the end result and say, I want to think of the coolest thing. I want to make sure it looks good. I want to make sure it'll sell as a product, so we don't waste all the time with the R&D in getting it to market. We do that, but at the same time, a parallel train of thought, so to speak, is we're going to start with what is a cool design and simultaneously what is going to be the best materials to use, things, processes to use up front for the longevity of the product to make sure that it is going to last a long time and it's not just going to be something that looks meh after a wash or two.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be easier to take care of, and you're not going to have problems with shrinkage of the acrylic shrinking at a different rate than cotton, that kind of thing. Did he say anything about the fabrics shrinking at different levels?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't mention the behavior of the fabrics. Just that he was having a really hard time pressing it and getting the wrinkles out so it looked decent. So I think he's running into the technical problem, like you said, about the fact that it's box pleats, and he's running into the fact that I would assume, Gary, correct us if you're watching and I'm wrong, that the fabrics are behaving differently. It's like, do you use the same setting on your iron for one half of the kilt versus the other? It's
if only it were that easy.
Yeah, seriously. So he didn't go into that kind of level of detail, but I guess what I'm picking up from the question really is the sense of he's got buyer's remorse, that he paid $150 for this, and the fact that he bought it at Faire also makes me think in terms of the fact that he probably bought it as an impulse buy, which is these are things I always try to tell people to be careful of. Buying a kilt on impulse is never really a good idea, in my estimation, and it's really easy to fall into that trap when you're at a really exciting event. It's almost like buying the concert T-shirt.
You've had you got a little bit of liquid courage. The purse strings are a little bit looser. I want to be part of the guys.
I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Kind of thing. But and it can be very hard to assess the quality of what you're buying on the spur of the moment. I mean, if you're in an online group like Kilts and Culture or something, you can ask friends about vetting the company or find out if anybody's ever had a kilt like the one you're considering. And if you're taking your time, you're going to be a lot safer. It's common sense, right? But I think the problem is he bought a kilt on impulse. It probably looked really cool hanging there. I mean, I've seen pictures of these things online, and that's why I've wanted one, because I think the black modern kilt with the tartan insets is really cool. I'd love to have one for going to concerts or just kicking around for non-formal events, just for fun. It'd be great with the concert T-shirt or something.
Right.
But it's not necessarily just because something looks cool doesn't mean it's good quality. And if the company making it is assuming it's going to be a novelty project, a novelty product which will be in fashion for a couple of years and then not sell as well, they're probably not going to invest the same amount of effort into making it solid.
Yeah,
like you were saying. So,
and we're not disparaging any particular company or anything like that. Yeah. It's just the overall. There's different ways to come at a new product. I'm reminded of a story now that we're talking about Faire. My wife, God love her. We were in the shop, and a longtime customer of ours came in with his daughter and soon-to-be son-in-law. They were all Ren Fair people. They go to the Ren Fair all the time, and the guy brought in the future son-in-law brought in the kilt that he had purchased at Faire, and we were like, oh yeah, bring it out. Let me see, the one that you have. And the reason that he came to us is because he wanted his wedding kilt. And the one he had from Faire wasn't that great, from his words. And he brought in a black watch. I'll call it black watch, and that's being generous. Walmart type flannel fabric, set size about an inch. Piece of cloth, sewn, like pleats kind of half sewn in it. Brought it in. And Kelly and I looked at it, and he was like, yeah, I got this. Is my kilt from Faire. I bought this. It was $150 or $200 or something like that. And Oof. Kelly said, how much was that? And he was like, yeah, I know. I overpaid for it. It was $200. And her head whipped over to me, and she's like, that's it. We're going to Ren Fair. We're going to sell our kilts. I'm going to put that company out of business. There's no way anyone should charge $200 for this POS. That's being polite.
I know your wife, so
and
yeah,
get away with it.
Yeah.
No, they're ripping people off. We got to put them out of business. So
that's Kelly.
Next year we went to Ren Fair. But yeah, there are differing levels of quality, and again, I'm not talking about particularly the inset pleat kilts, but different companies will charge different amounts for different things, and it's just what the market will bear. They're going to charge what they think they can get away with and what people are willing to pay.
Yep. And I think for people who are not into kilts the way we are, or most of you guys are, I'm assuming, the more exotic something seems, the more likely it is you will accept the price that's presented to you. You've never seen a kilt before in your life. You've never shopped for a kilt before in your life. When you see one in the flesh, you're going to be like, that's so weird. It's so unique. It's so awesome. I got to have it. 200? Okay, I guess that's what they cost. And that's why impulse is such a dangerous thing. A little education can go a long way. So, and yeah, I don't know any manufacturers who make the inset kilts. I know retailers who sell them, but I don't know any manufacturers who are making them. For all I know, there's some of the smaller util-kilt artisanal companies in the States who are making them, and they're fine. But I'm afraid that what he got is more likely a made in Pakistan version.
Yeah. No, the vast majority are made in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Of the inset ones. I believe Angry Bastard
Did
does
he have
an
one?
inset one.
Okay. But him I would trust.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, I've seen his stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And there may be one other one that's done them, but it's not. Yeah, it's not something that's super common, and I would hazard a guess, an educated guess, that the vast majority are coming out of Pakistan.
Yeah,
because the insets tend to be like neon colors, or like the bright green Irish one,
right?
Or,
right. You can tell there's some acrylic like or something in there.
Yeah.
It's the really dyes that they like to use for the.
And that's not disparaging it. If you want to pay, if the price was $100 and it's worth it to you, and it's just a fun knock around casual thing, have at it. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily.
And now there's also the ones that do the flag colors. So if you're buying one because the insets are a flag color combo that you want, then you're buying it for a different reason, and there may not be any other options for buying it. In which case, okay, just accept the fact that it may look cool for a while but not last. But if you want it because you want to represent, then okay, just be aware.
I directly to his question, I'll give this 20-30 second response. If you want to try to press it and you're having a problem with it, use a press cloth. Take either an old bed sheet that's ripped up or whatever, or a handkerchief that's a foot by a foot, white cotton handkerchief. Get it wet, get it damp, wring it out a little bit, and then lay the kilt out. Put the press cloth on it, and iron on top of the press cloth. That way, you're not shining the cotton more than the acrylic, or vice versa. You're protecting the cloth itself when you're actually pressing it.
Okay. So that could get around the mix of fabrics.
It could help to get around it, yes. As far as the shining of the fabric, the burning of the fabric.
Okay.
It won't get around if there is any shrinkage. It won't get around that. That's done by the washing machine and drying. But it is what it is.
But wash delicate and on cold.
Yeah.
Which you tend to say anyway. But
yep.
Yeah. What if the insets shrunk in the?
No, the insects, the acrylic wouldn't.
Okay, so you're just like the outside. The outside's going to would
shrink,
and then so it's going to be all fiddly piddly, wrinkly, bunchy.
Yeah, or the insets would kind of like be sticking out underneath the bottom, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
I hope that long-winded answer helps you.
I hope somebody out there is making good, serious quality ones, because I do think it's a cool idea. For a certain look, I think it's pretty awesome. But so I hope that helps, Gary. Yeah.
Cool. Mr. Mac, what do we got coming in?
Was there follow-up on that we should be aware of? Or
there was a lot of discussion going on about that. Okay. So there's some good movement on the online feeds, as it were.
Should we address the elephant in the room?
There has been
Before we go further.
Did you just call me fat or Republican? I'm not sure which.
Neither was intended.
But yes, we haven't gotten to either one of those. So.
Yes. So what tartan are you wearing back there, Mac?
Oh, what tartan do I have on?
Yes, we're going to go over to tartans today.
The one that no one can see?
Exactly.
Yeah, we got to fix that somehow.
Yeah.
Up kilt cam? I don't think we want to fix that. We don't need a camera under the table there, Chief.
That's a different show.
Table cam? It's the Stewart of Appin, hunting weathered.
Oh, so pretty.
I think we should have Caroline take a shot of him after the show, and then I can at least put it up in the edited version later, so we can have Mac showing off his tartan. I think that'd be fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
What tartan do you have on there, Erik?
I don't. I am wearing a tweed kilt today. I wanted to experiment with doing the dressed up neo-Edwardian kind of day fancy day, shop day. So I got my tweed kilt. bronze accessories. My watch chain does not match, unfortunately, but I do not have a bronze watch chain. I'm
How
sorry.
dare you,
Sorry, guys.
sir?
Bum bum bum.
My apologies.
Yes,
But,
indeed.
but I do have a 120-year-old tie tack, so
Very pretty.
it's a rampant lion. You probably can't see that. But,
Interesting.
Mhm.
No, can't see it.
no, it's actually a coin. It's a Belgian coin. Belonged to like my great grandfather or something. But it's a rampant lion. So
Nice.
yeah.
Good stuff.
What are you wearing there, Rocky?
I am wearing the Kilts and Culture Tartan.
A once proud and
Yes.
noble tartan before it was
Yes.
turned into pants.
Now I have a crotch. Yes, I have done it. I have a pair of trews. These
aren't trews.
Yes, they're
Those-
trousers.
yeah, they're
tartan
trousers.
trousers.
Not trews.
Yes, when I designed the Kilts and Culture Tartan for the show and for our Facebook group, I just went a little crazy because I hadn't had a tartan for a while. So I had a tartan vest made to go with my kilt, and then I had a pair of tartan trousers made. It is warm in here, so they're a little bit itchy, but I have to suffer for my art, so
Right on.
to speak.
I get that.
Yeah, it was something that I just wanted to do just as a goof, just to monkey around with it.
And now, for those occasions that come up so often where your wife says you can't wear a kilt to this event, you've got a compromise solution, right?
Exactly. I'll do what I want.
Now, what I want is a picture of you in the full tartan suit. The whole thing, the whole shebang. The jacket, the vest.
Jacket? No, I don't have a jacket in this.
Oh, you didn't get a jacket?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I had it when I did the Pennsylvania tartan in wool. I had a kilt, jacket, and vest, and I never wore the jacket, so just a waste of money. Or I should say, I didn't wear it often. So I did the vest and I did the kilt. Now, how about vest, kilt, and pants? Huh? No. No, I shouldn't do that.
Oofta.
If you're gonna do it, you might as well go all out and go in shepherd's check.
You should wear those trousers with the shepherd check vest.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think
Or you could go subtle and have a
think my
a
Guinness
shepherd
Irn
check,
Bru is coming back
shepherd
up.
check shirt. You know, just a very tiny little houndstooth, like micro houndstooth dress shirt. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's I wanted to wear the vest with these, but it's a little bit short because
Well,
they're
right,
just
you got to cut to go
pants.
with the kilt.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping that it was going to be like a little bit long that I could kind of get away with it, but I saw black between the bottom of the vest and the top of the pants.
Right.
So I was like, nah, I'll just do the old man golf thing.
See, that's exactly. I keep wanting to just go grab his golf clubs. You know. This is just the 9-iron for this one, sir.
Thank you.
Anyway, so yeah, there you go.
Indeed.
Pants day.
Yes, pants. I've done it. I'm sorry. I will atone for my sins later on. That had to be done. Had to mess with you guys. Mr. Mack, any actual questions?
Well, Kirk would like to know when the ties are coming in to go with that as well. So then you could go
Full on.
You can add the tie, and then there was also a question about a flat cap too. So you can go complete.
Now the wool fabric we actually did in 16 ounce, so it doesn't go real well for a tie. It's a bit heavy for a tie.
Excuses.
I know. Well, one thing, because Lucas will yell at me if I don't mention this. We stopped doing pants and trews in tartan. What we ended up finding was like, I'd say 20% of them didn't fit, 25% either didn't fit or fit, like snug in the crotch. Like there was just things wrong with way too many of them because they're all custom made.
Yeah, I will point out we are not the ones who made them. It was a tailor in Scotland who was making them for us. So
Yes, and I'm not throwing them under the bus.
I don't want to throw them or us under the bus.
No,
but
there's too many potential screw ups between customer measuring themselves or us measuring the customer sometimes measuring themselves, and then having them made, making sure that they fit. But the tailor is over in Glasgow and the customer is here in the States, and they're not necessarily in our area. So there was just too many variables, too many issues, and we just said, done. No more trews.
Right.
Done. So this is the last pair of trews that we will get, at least for now, till somebody pays us an exorbitant amount of money.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mack.
Moving on.
All
Real
right.
questions.
So now we're gonna actually get to a real question this time. So we have Sophie asking: is it okay for someone with no known Scottish heritage to really be into tartan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am. The
Ta-da.
I don't really have Scottish heritage. I have some Irish, I have some English, I have mostly German. I just wanted to wear a kilt in my mid-20s, fell in love with it, kind of just had to experience all things Scottish, jumped in with both feet and then some. Started a company, and 18 years later, here we are. So no, you don't have to have Scottish heritage to wear a kilt. If you feel weird wearing a particular tartan that you're not associated with, there are plenty of non-clan tartans.
Yep.
The Kilts and Culture tartan. There's Scottish National, Ireland's National, German American, German Heritage, American Heritage. There are tons of universal tartans that anyone can wear that aren't necessarily associated with a Scottish clan.
Yep. Tartan as a technology, plaid, to use the more colloquial, not really accurate term, goes back to the Bronze Age. The earliest examples of a tartan-like fabric is actually from Caucasoid mummies that have been found in the steppes of China, like prehistoric stuff. Okay, so the technology has been around for a long time. It's not unique to Scotland. Now, Scotland basically created the art form of tartan as we know it, and came up with turning it into a more elevated thing. But you'll even find tartan or plaid patterns in fabric in Japan. There's silks in kimono that you'll see. It's a world thing. It exists in many parts of the world. Being into tartan in the Scottish tradition, no. You can enjoy it no matter what. The only thing we usually recommend is try to be a sincere student of the culture while you're doing it. Don't just go and buy a Burberry coat because you like it and just jaunt around in it. If you're wearing a tartan and it might have some history behind it, then you might want to look it up. Have a sense of where it came from and what you're getting your ideas from and what culture you're honoring. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm rambling a little bit. I blame the Irn Bru.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of culture and heritage to the Burberry tartan. But if it's a clan tartan, then yes.
Yeah, it's just that was the first generic example I could think of. But yeah. So yeah, actually, I'm mixed heritage also. I theoretically have some Stewart on my mom's side and some Campbell on my dad's side, which is a really funky mix.
Internal conflict.
But I'm mostly German Norwegian. So, but yeah, it's I've been passionate about this stuff for 20 years. There's just people come to it from all walks of life and all backgrounds, so just enjoy it. Yeah.
And generally speaking, the Scots embrace others embracing their culture. So long as you're a sincere student and you're not doing it as a caricature of what they're doing, they're fine with other people having fun and enjoying their culture. It's not like it's like, no, you shouldn't do it because you're not from Scotland. Or there's probably a percentage of those.
There's always going to be somebody.
Yeah, there's jerks in every culture.
Right.
Period. But the vast majority of Scots that I've spoken to just generally think it's awesome. When I go over for a trade show and I'm just around Glasgow, around Edinburgh, whatever, when I tell them I'm an American kilt maker, they think that's crazy and it's awesome.
Right.
It's like, wait, you do what in America? Really? Like, yeah. There's you can make a living doing that? Yeah, we do.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Exactly.
Now, don't go to Scotland and assume they all know everything there is about your clan or their own clan.
That's true. That's true.
But don't let not being Scottish stop you from enjoying an amazing cultural product.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Me too. It's a power outage, man. It's been.
Yeah. For the record, we had tornadoes and hurricanes, and all kinds of stuff come through here.
Dogs and cats living together.
I know, it was crazy. Erik and I both lost power. Was it Wednesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday? Was it Tuesday?
No, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah. Lost power Tuesday. Mine came on last night at 3 a.m, and yours is still out, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So Awesome.
It's fun.
Indeed.
It's when you really learn to appreciate your oil lamps.
And power.
When you get back.
Yes, exactly.
Shall I do one?
Yes.
Okay. This came in very recently. This was from Charles Marks. And he was wondering, this is kind of a callback. He was, you remember the movies that came out last year and a half? Basically, Outlaw King and the Bruce. With, what's his name? Angus McFadden. He knew that we had talked about them at the time, but he was wondering, Charles was, if we had a chance to go back and compare and contrast them and what we thought of them. So, pop culture question.
Who was the Outlaw King actor? Chris Pine, was that his name?
Sure.
He did the Star Trek Captain Kirk guy or whatever. No idea.
I believe you're right.
Okay. Yeah. Did you see either of the movies or no?
Nope. Not yet.
Okay.
I have my reasons, but...
Are they honorable, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw both of them. I've seen, obviously Braveheart as the taking historical accuracy completely out of the discussion. Using Braveheart as the gold standard for a Hollywood blockbuster, ton of money in a movie, good actors, good acting, fun, good lines, well written, well produced.
Okay. Not accurate.
Not accurate at all, but it's fine. It's a story. Outlaw King, I thought I used Braveheart kind of as the yardstick, which I probably shouldn't have, but that's how I thought going into it. Like, okay, that was 95. Stuff has to be bigger and better now. The camera angles, the scenery, like everything has to be better now with the technology versus 95. I think Braveheart came out in 95, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So I was expecting Outlaw King to be as good as Braveheart. The budget was definitely lower. Acting was okay. It wasn't great. Didn't set the world on fire. It was okay. And the storyline the story that the written, the lines that were written for the actors were okay. So I came out of it just kind of like, meh. It's if I was watching it because I just want to see Scottish stuff and people talk with a Scottish accent, and Scottish scenery in the movie and have a little bit more historical accuracy, then fine. But I was looking for more entertainment value, so I gave it like a 3.5 out of 10. I wasn't really impressed.
Huh. Wow.
So fast forward a year or whatever, whenever the Bruce came out. Yeah. I was hoping to like that one more. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more blockbustery because it was the same guy who did the Robert the Bruce in the Braveheart movie. So I was hoping it was going to be like a continuation of the story, so to speak. I didn't delve into the whole production company and who was producing the film. So I just kind of, when it came up, I was like, okay, great, I want to see it. Yeah, it was. There was the Bruce basically took place time period on a very, very brief time from when he escaped the church, or when he ran from the church and was being hunted down, and that kind of thing. So it was like it was a personal story about him. It wasn't a story about a bunch of different characters and how they dealt with all these different things. It was his story in a brief, snippet of his life, if you will. There weren't several huge battle scenes. There was nothing spectacular about it. And I was reasonably disappointed in that one as well. Angus's acting was pretty good, but meh on the overall film. It's not one that I got to put the stamp of approval on. I'd say similar. It was better in some ways than Outlaw King, worse in other ways than Outlaw King, as far as budget. But 4 out of 10, 3.5 or 4 out of 10, somewhere in there. Huh. So yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of either. Some people love it and they say, nope, it's more historically accurate. I love it. They're telling a true story. They're trying to honor the actual events better. I was more in it for the entertainment value and was kind of Meh.
If there's that level of respect for the historiosity of either of them, and I know there is some respect for that out there, I should give them a chance. I just tend to get really gun shy with anything, with any Hollywood movies. I mean, the Bruce intrigues me more because I know it's a UK production, and if they're trying to do just a small vignette of his life with a small cast and admittedly a small budget, it's more likely that the writing will be good and there will be less room for error. The bigger and more epical a movie gets, the more likely it is they're going to screw it up. And I'm really, and Mac can maybe back me up on this, but I'm really jaded about Hollywood movies, at least, that are historical. I definitely prefer fantasy movies because I've had too many historical movies where it's like, yeah, this is great, and then, oh, why did they put those buckles there? You know, it's just these little things just kind of like ruin my suspension of disbelief. You know, I mean, for me, it's like Waterloo. Favorite historical accurate movie is Waterloo, Zulu, with some qualifications. You know, just a very small handful of movies where it's like, yeah, you nailed it. It's awesome. I think generally Hollywood is getting better. I think they're definitely getting more respectful. They're trying hard, but it's still, you know, then there's that whole patriot thing. So, yeah, that's why, honestly, I've been, you know, I haven't watched them yet. And I had thought that we were going to try and watch them together at some point, too. And this whole year has just been a nightmare.
What are you talking about? 2020 is going fine.
Yeah. But, you know, I was hoping for the company party. You know,
yeah,
so
I know.
Those of us who want the entertainment movie could give their perspective. Those of us who are the history nerds could give our perspective. But, so I will watch them and let you guys know what I think. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's been said before that a movie does not have to be historically accurate to be inspiring or good entertainment. And sometimes being historically accurate will interfere with a film's ability to entertain. So, yeah. Mac, did you see either of them? Mac's off in his own world.
Yeah, no, sorry, I had to bring get the computer back up. I saw the
Outlaw King?
Yes, I saw that. That was on
Netflix.
On Netflix? Yeah. I remember seeing that. I don't remember much about it from seeing it.
Yeah, it didn't make a lasting impression. There was no there wasn't like a bunch of great one-liners or great lines in the movie. It's not like Tombstone. Yes, absolutely. Ian, if you're watching, Tombstone is the best Western of all freaking time, dude. No, it's not like Tombstone where there's a lot of great... There's not a lot of great like one-liners in the movie. There's no funny parts. It's meh. Yeah. Sorry, Mac. I didn't mean to jump on your answer there.
No, you're fine.
Fair enough. All right. Who was that? You?
That was me.
Mr. Mac, next question.
Your turn.
All right. Well, I think we'll shift it here to a question from Greg. It's actually the question is from his 8-year-old daughter.
Huh.
So
that's cool.
It's something
that's new.
A little different.
Getting them in young.
Yep. She's wanting to know: do little girls wear kilts in Scotland?
No. No. Generally, little girls don't wear kilts in Scotland. They would wear like jumpers for their school, especially if they go to a Catholic school or some private school, something like that. But typically, kilts are worn by men. Women would wear either a mini kilt, which your dad probably doesn't want you to wear, or a kilted skirt or a skirt or like an A-line skirt that's a little bit longer past the bottom of the knee.
Unless they're Highland dancers, in which case they would be wearing the specifically designed dancing kilt for doing Highland dance. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I think your dad should totally pay for the lessons and get you involved as soon as possible, because it is adorable. So
yes, and very, very expensive.
No, that has nothing to do with it. Don't worry. Don't let the cost get in the way. This is about your heritage.
Yes, if your dad loves you, he would absolutely pay anything, any amount of money at all to get you involved in Highland dancing. Period.
Yep. But nowadays, little girls in Scotland will wear clothes because they think it looks cool, looks cute. You know, just like here in the United States, it's basically fashion is fashion. You know, in Scotland or the UK or any part of North America. So they don't really wear kilts as a traditional thing, except for maybe special occasions. Like Rocky said, they might have a tartan outfit for a wedding, or some other big occasions in their life that their family is doing. So now their great grandmothers wore some very special outfits called arisades, which was kind of like a great kilt for women. And your dad can probably help you find pictures of those online. And it's kind of like, a thing you could wear as a great kilt, like you've seen Highlander guys wearing great kilts, or wrapped around like a shawl, things like that. But they'd be wearing it with a dress like you'd see in something like Outlander, if you've ever heard of the show, or some movies. So there's that. There is a tradition of women wearing kilt-like things, but do little girls today wear them? Not really, unless it's a special occasion. And then it's something like we were talking about with the kilted skirts.
Yep. Scotland and the UK in general is not dislike America. Like, they dress pretty much the same way we dress. They talk a little funny, but they talk pretty much the same that we talk. They eat the same, for the most part, same kind of foods that we eat with pizza and stuff like that. They have a lot more Indian food and curry, but outside of that, it's reasonably similar cultural-wise to wherever you live in the U.S.
And that's, to get on the adult side of things, that's one thing to keep in mind if you go there, is that Scotland does not exist in a time capsule. It is not like you're going to go there and see everybody running around in a kilt and everybody speaking Gaelic, and it's a modern, vibrant, living country. That's the biggest problem, I think, with people being ugly Americans when they travel to Scotland, is expecting everything to be
quaint, old-timey.
Quaint. And I got that on top of mind because we just finished doing our King George video, and one of the points we make there is that Highland tourism actually started way back in like the late 18th century, with people going, oh, let's go up to the north to the Highlands and see the primitive people with their quaint way of life amid the beautiful scenery, And if you go in with that kind of attitude, you're a jerk. So,
email,
to be blunt,
started in use in the Highlands in 2016. Back before then, they were still using carrier pigeons.
It's true.
To send messages back and forth, in fact.
Yep. They only stopped riding on Highland coos a few, like in the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
They thought, well, maybe we'll try this automobile thing. But up until then, everybody rode on cows. Or if you were wealthy, you'd have 2 cows and you'd have a chariot.
Best color rouge for women? Woad blue.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. But you had to put it on in a certain pattern to designate your family. You'd have basically the initials of your last name. First name on this side and last name on this side. So people who knew who you were from a distance.
Don't believe anything that we say on this.
Yep.
All right, Mac.
I love the fact that we got a question from a kid, though. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate that a lot.
Hopefully we didn't curse too much earlier in the episode.
Whoops, I don't know. It's authentic, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
My wife curses more.
That's true. All right, should I do one?
Yes, go right ahead.
Should have asked that after I took a cup of water. Kendo Shane asked us, has the Isle of Skye tartan become sort of like the new Black Watch? It seems to be popping up all over the place in rentals, and more frequently you see it for sale. Is it like the new ubiquitous tartan? Or is Black Watch still the Black Watch?
The Black Watch still king. I would say, I wouldn't say that Isle of Skye is the new Black Watch. I would say that there's a lot of new Black Watches. Black Watch is one of the more ubiquitous tartans that everyone has, or sells, everyone rents, and that kind of thing. Black Watch is still keen to be rented or hired over in Scotland, especially in the US as well. In Scotland, there are several rental companies that will rent Isle of Skye, but the trends currently aren't necessarily just like, okay, Isle of Skye and Black Watch and Royal Stewart. What a lot of the companies in Scotland are doing is they're designing fashion tartan based on colors. When you go to rent a kilt in Scotland, if you are renting a kilt, either you want to rent your own name, and if your name isn't Douglas, Stewart, MacDonald, or Campbell, there's less chance of you being able to actually rent your name tartan. So knowing that you probably won't get to rent your own name, they're offering a lot more options for universal or fashion or made-up tartans that anyone can do. And what they tend to be doing now is they're taking more popular wedding colors and they're incorporating those colors into black-gray type tartans. And basically providing a great option for brides to be happy and groomsmen not to be representing someone else's clan that they're not a part of. Isle of Skye is a reasonably popular one. I checked out. I'm always, poking around different people's websites and stuff. And a lot of the rental companies, I'd say, of the rental companies in Scotland that I was poking around with, maybe 25 or 30% offer Isle of Skye specifically. A lot of them have their own exclusive tartan that is their own one that you can only get from them. That way you have to go to them if that's the one that you want to rent. And some companies do still offer Isle of Skye as an option because, frankly, it's a good-looking tartan.
Right. Yeah.
So
there was one company I looked at recently where I can't remember which one, but they do a large hire business, and they had adopted a district tartan as their flagship, as I recall. I can't remember which one it was for the life of me, but it was one of the more subdued. It's kind of a little bit like maple leaf in its look, but it was very subdued, earthy kind of tones. But it was basically the one section of their website kept talking about how this was their hot special. If you really want to look unique and fashionable, this is the tartan you should get. And it's actually a district tartan, I think, from where their headquarters is. So they kind of adopted it as their pet tartan, if you will. So yeah, there's any number of ways that they want to differentiate themselves from each other. So they'll do that. But Isle of Skye is one of the most beautiful tartans ever designed by a lot of people's estimation. So it's not surprising that it's as popular as it is. I mean, we have it on the wall, don't we? Is it even on the wall somewhere?
Right behind you.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
There she is. So, yeah, but has it replaced Black Watch? No.
I don't think anything will replace Black Watch because I would say this as well. A lot of guys are afraid of color. So Black Watch is navy, black, and bottle green. It's not very colorful. It's generally very darker and subdued. So a lot of guys don't mind it, and you see it everywhere. So it's one of those like, oh yeah, that's what tartan looks like.
Yeah.
Done. Do that one.
Right. And because it has some story behind it, being the government set and all the history behind it, sometimes that will attract guys to it. It'll always have a certain cachet because of how it started and how old it is. So
yes, I agree.
It's a foundation stone of tartan, really.
Indeed, a foundation.
Yeah, cornerstone. It's a cornerstone tartan.
Well, how many tartans are freaking designed based on Black Watch? It's just Black Watch with a stripe or Black Watch 2 stripes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Indeed. Mr. Mac.
So what you're saying is everything is Black Watch?
Everything is Black Watch.
Da, 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 da.
Everything is cool when you're Scottish like me. Everything is Black Watch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you just come up with that?
I did, off the cuff.
Very nice. You could give Lucas a run for his money.
I will.
He's still the resident rapper in the company, though.
Yes, freestyling Lucas L. Toombs, as he's known.
Yep. MC Toombs.
Oh heavens. Mr. Mac.
I believe, isn't it time for something?
It is time for
I think
something.
it's about that time.
Is it time for more Guinness?
All right. So, Kilt Ambassador of the Month. This month, our Kilt Ambassador is Aixa Owens. She's a proud U.S. Navy vet and Highland athlete. She not only is a super cool person, she is a beast. She's been a competitive athlete since she was little, and when she joined the Navy, she was in a bomb loading accident. Mac, that is not the kind of accident you want to have. But the bomb loading accident, basically, it screwed up her back, and she was actually told that she was never going to walk again. Being as competitive as she is, that did not sit well with her. So she battled back through pain, through doubt, back to full strength. She started as a Highland athlete in 2016, and in her first year as a Highland athlete, she went from a C-level novice to an A-level amateur, which is a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
She's very passionate about Highland athletics and about helping women get involved in the sport. She and a friend actually even started a podcast called the Kilted Lass Podcast to help promote Highland athletics to women. She wears the kilt no matter what sport she's competing in, and she competes in a lot of different stuff. So I'm going to raise my glass to a tough as nails competitor a kilt ambassador, Aisha Owens.
Cheers.
She is our Kilted Ambassador of the Month. If you want to be a Kilt Ambassador, Erik, how would they go about becoming a Kilt Ambassador?
There's the most basic way you can do this is to post a photo of yourself on your Facebook or Instagram feed and tag USA Kilt into whatever description you have for the photo. Tell us a little bit about why you feel like you're an ambassador, things you do in your life that you think are cool or that boost the Celtic community or what have you. It can be anything as simple as I hiked on the Appalachian Trail all the way up to I started a charity that has saved 150,000 lives. I mean, it could be any level of thing that you're proud of. The trick is that you're into that and you're into your kilts and you show us what you look like.
Very good.
Simple enough?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I would also say, send us an email and say, hey, I did the thing over here on the thing.
Or if you know somebody who you feel is an ambassador, somebody who you really respect out there in the community, let us know about them.
Yep. Well, all we're trying to do is just basically give big ups to cool people doing stuff in kilts.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yep. So, if that's you, have at it. All right, Mac.
All right.
Next question.
We've got Mikey asking if I like.
Does he like it?
He might. Well, if he
Showing
likes
your
the
age.
aesthetic of the Scottish attire, but don't feel ready to wear a kilt, are there any other good starting points?
Necktie.
What?
Tartan vest?
Not tartan pants?
They're itchy, dude. It's warm in here. My little leg hairs is sweating. You all right, Mac? I think I just broke them. No, if you want to wear something to kind of honor your Scottish heritage and you're not sure how to incorporate it into your daily life, I'd say you could start off with a necktie. Tartan necktie is a classic symbol of Scottish heritage, and it also incorporates with everything else. Wear a tartan vest with your outfit. You can wear the clan lapel badge. You can wear a belt with Celtic knotwork on it if on the very, very low end of expressing your Celtic heritage.
Casual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure from the base of the question whether they are just a fan of the look or if they are doing it as a heritage expression. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't have a clan, then don't worry about the clan thing. But Scottish clothing and the culture kind of has that old world feel to it. If you want to go like smart daywear to more formal than that, then yeah, tartan options, tweeds are a great way to go also. If it's more casual and you're into the Celtic heritage thing from the more modern, primitive kind of aspect, then there's all kinds of that warrior look you can go for with again with the knotwork on leather. It's classic. Belt buckles are a classic way to do it. Different artwork on jewelry, pendants, Celtic cross if you happen to be Christian, Catholic, whatever. T-shirts, things like that. There's any number of ways to express your love of the culture casually. For smart daywear, I think a wool ties, tartan ties,
or a vest.
UK cut suits, things like that are easy ways to do it. Cufflinks.
Yeah. Cufflinks is a good
it's the details,
Yep.
Think Downton Abbey a little bit.
Yeah. Tweed.
Yeah.
Just tweed in general.
Tweed, exactly.
Tweed flat cap, tweed jacket and vest.
Yep.
Tweed plus fours.
I'd wear
pair
them.
of plus fours. Yeah, why not? There's ways
Actually, I
to
own
incorporate, little bits into the outfit to kind of pay homage to it without going whole hog into I am Mr. Scotland.
Yeah.
Indeed. Mr. Erik, next question.
All right. There's actually another one from Charles Marks. He gave us two questions. I thought they were both pretty cool, so I saved them. If you had to go back, you had to go in the back of our warehouse, I think he assumes, and grab a Great Kilt to match something that would be found in 1700s Scotland, what tartan would you choose? If you had to instantly go into a phone booth and turn into super Highlander, with all the resources we have here at headquarters, what tartan would you choose to look like Culloden era, pre-Culloden era Highlander?
The history thing is more your angle than mine, but I'd say shepherd's check, maybe. Or like a Rob Roy, like something simple.
Yep.
Yeah, those would be the two right off the top of my head that I would, think about.
I had to think about this a lot, and I actually thought about this question enough that I took a couple of notes on some things. But I wanted to hear what Mac would say also. Do you have a choice, or are you too busy to answer?
There's one that actually comes to my head.
Okay.
That was actually used on a British. Somebody took a piece of cloth off of a kilt or off of a garment and made it into the backing of a waistcoat.
Okay.
And that was the waistcoat was worn during the Revolution, so the piece predates that because it was supposedly his father's from his father's uniform.
Oh, neat. Okay, interesting.
So, and I believe I'm trying to look it up real quick.
When you say Revolution, you mean the American Revolution?
American Revolution,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
I will get back to you on the tartan.
Okay.
I want to make sure I got the right tartan first.
I get some of the names confused, to be honest. So I took some notes, but essentially the what it comes down to is you could use anything you like. They did not regiment or label tartan designs the way we do now. That, as we've said many times, is a 19th century convention that came in. So you could almost take any tartan you like and wear it to represent a 17th century, 18th century Highland look. You just would want to get a sense for whether the colors look like colors that would have been produced with natural dyes as opposed to modern chemical dyes. Modern chemical dyes, of course, being 19th century. They're not as modern as some people think. But the ways that they find these old tartans is kind of all over the map. There's some that we know are older dated because, like the one that really struck out to me was the Lennox tartan is actually based on the gown of a portrait of a woman that dates to like the late 17th century.
Okay.
It's just little clues like that they pick up. Another one from a portrait was, and this is the one I chose. This is the one I would go with Fraser, because the earliest example of the Fraser tartan.
Fraser clan tartan. Fraser love it.
No, Fraser clan tartan.
Okay.
The brighter one, the red, more reddish one.
Okay.
Comes from a portrait of Robert Grant, Fraser of Lurge, Lurge. Can you correct my Gaelic spelling? Okay. And that dates to like 17. The painting dates to 1777.
Okay.
And so that's like a really legit tartan that became a clan tartan.
Right. Possibly
because that painting inspired a later, leader of the clan. Really, it's like that's what he wore. That's gonna be what we're gonna wear from now on. But it's from an oil painting of him. From then.
It was the guy's name was Grant.
Yeah.
But it's
Robert
Fraser tartan.
Robert Grant, Fraser of Lurge.
Okay.
Yep. Falkirk is the classic example for why you would choose something like shepherd check. A lot of people think of Falkirk as the original shepherd check. Rob Roy, again, being basically
the buffalo check, the red and black.
Exactly, it's basically kind of shepherd check, but in red. So anything simple like that is fine. They just didn't catalog things the way we do, so it could be pretty much anything you like. Yeah.
Good to know.
There is the story. There's a quote. I think it's from an Englishman, 17th century, talking about how in the past the Highland peoples liked their bright colors, but in recent days they tend to prefer brown drab colors so that they blend in with the heather when they're up in the hills and they're crouching in the heather to hide. It's hard to say whether that's real or not, but that's probably one of the inspirations for why things like the Fraser tartan you see in Outlander is so subdued, is that people are picking up on things like that and saying, oh, well, they obviously did these drab colors because it was camouflage. But no, then you have the actual Culloden tartan, which is really bright.
Yes.
So, and that is that.
It was based. They tried to backwards engineer the colors in it to match what it would have looked like back then, even though it kind of faded over time.
And I guess Royal Stewart is based on
the Bonnie Prince Charlie photo or
Yeah.
painting photo.
Right. But
Smile.
yeah. And there's one that there's another one that he wore. I think was it McCrae? I think it was McCrae Red. See, I wrote it down. Also known as Huntley. And he wore that tartan once because he was given some while he was staying with them. At one point during the campaign, he was staying at their house, and they gifted him some, so he wore it. So, yeah, you'd be surprised how easy it is to choose one to represent the time period.
Indeed.
As I always say, it's just don't assume it's all like these drab, simplistic, brown, gray designs. They loved their color.
Who would ever wear brown and gray tartan? I mean, gotta be a crazy person.
Yeah. Somebody who's really into urban camouflage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Best tartan ever. Mr. Mac.
Erik, that tartan was Strathspey.
Okay.
That's the one I completely drew a blank on. I had to look it up.
So you're saying that was a Continental Army?
It was a British.
It was a British, but it was the backing of the waistcoat.
He took off the
cool.
original backing and put the tartan on.
Nice.
It didn't match up either, so I think Matt Newsom. I think he did an article on it.
Good old Matt Newsom.
Yep. I believe so.
If you're not familiar with his website, worth checking out, almanac.org.
Yep.
Is .org, I think.
Indeed. Mr. Mac, next one.
All right, since we've had a record number of Twitch viewers this
record
5,
7.
7. We are
Lucky
blowing up
7.
Twitch.
7. We will take a question from Twitch. So, this is from Aaron. I like to dress up a nice pair of jeans now and then by adding a sport coat, vest, as well as brown wingtip boots.
Sure.
I try to keep it casual and maybe a little cool, which for Seattle is practically black tie. How would you approach the same idea with a kilt? The standard tweed jacket and vest, quite traditional, or I like the look a lot. I'm also looking for a way to make it a little bit more casual while still being dressed up. Casual and kind of cool, funky.
If it were, you could literally take the same top half of your outfit, but take your tweed blazer and swap it out for a tweed, kilt jacket.
Yeah.
And then just for the bottom half, wear a kilt and a pair of kilt hose and a pair of either brown wingtip boots. What do they call they're like ankle or?
I call them walking boots, but that's because I'm, a Victoriophile. But yeah,
there's another name for it. I forget what it is, but boots that are like 8-hole boots. They're 6 inches or whatever off the ground.
Some guys wear chukkas.
Yeah, that may be the word I'm looking for is chukka. Yeah. But something like that as kind of a funky, little bit casual-ish. If you don't want to do the jacket, then I'd say maybe a tweed vest, either unbuttoned or buttoned with like a grandfather shirt, something like that, and the same kind of footwear and kilt. That would be a nice, casual, relaxed, yet funky steampunkish to some degree.
I wouldn't say
steampunk, but you know what I mean.
I wouldn't say steampunkish, but yeah, I mean it's basically the way
gears on the sporing. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Spray paint them on.
Exactly.
Love that one. Yeah, it's basically casual with a kilt is like casual with anything else. You don't wear the tie, or you roll up the sleeves. Or you have a less tailored looking shirt than a really crisp dress shirt. You wear the vest open instead of closed. There's any number of ways to do it. You're probably fine just trusting your instincts. Like Rocky just said, you just, instead of the pants, you got the kilt. Everything else, it's the same kind of vibe.
Pretty much.
Don't, as we always warn, don't try to use a regular suit jacket with a kilt. The proportions will be wrong. But it's not hard to do a casual, sharp day wear look. If you do an image search on kilts, a lot of times you will see model photography for companies in Scotland, where you have the guy who looks like a hipster and he's got the beard and he's got some ink maybe on his arms and he's got the sleeves rolled up and he's looking, but he's in a kilt. It's not hard to do at all.
The only other thing I would maybe suggest for that particular look is scrunch down the kilt hose and remove the flashes.
You could.
Perhaps.
You could.
It's not my personal look, but I could see it being done in that context.
I'll keep the kilt hose up with the flashes, but I will wear the tie loose. And you've seen me do that on the show, or just in the shop. I'll have the sleeves rolled up and the tie loose. I might have some leather bracelets on. You just kind of mix it up that way. So,
indeed,
yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it too much. I seem to say that a lot lately. It's been my catchphrase on the show. It's like, you're fine. All right.
You look fine. Don't worry about it, hon. You're totes adorbs. That's okay.
Right. I think Aaron had this question asked before. Aaron from Seattle? I just crossed out your question.
Dun, dun, dun.
Finally caught up with you.
It was.
Our psychic link was working. Okay. Zachary on YouTube was asking us recently, can you wear a clan tartan kilt and a district tartan sash together? Yes or no? Now, my question there, Zachary, is are you asking for yourself or for a lady who you are acquainted with? The combination of kilt and sash, we should probably just make that quick differentiation that a sash is women's wear traditionally, not men's wear. So the answer would be, from a traditional standpoint, if it's you don't do it at all. Problem solved. But, that being said...
Yeah. We've been asked before, I'm Campbell and Stewart. Can I, wear a Campbell necktie with a Stewart kilt or something like that? And generally, the blanket answer is no. You do one or the other. You don't do both. You're crossing the streams. You're playing for two teams. You're not honoring both. You're dishonoring both. Is the British way to look at it. From Americans, we want to put all the parts together and have fun with all of it, but it doesn't quite work. Simpler is better when it comes to Highland wear stuff. Mm-hmm. The reason I like this question because it's a little bit of a twist on it. What if I'm a Stewart and I'm from Glasgow? What if I wanted to wear the Glasgow district tartan as a necktie and a Stewart kilt? Would that be okay? I'd still say no, because it would look a little odd, having two completely different ones. And if you're in Scotland, it would still be seen as not representing one or the other. Even though, to some degree, you are representing the same thing, it's not viewed that way. A lot of people, we are geeks for this stuff. We live for the minutia.
You think?
We have a show about it.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that we can understand and kind of get into the finer details on things. But just because we all geek out about it doesn't mean that every single person in Scotland wears kilts or cares about kilts or cares about the history of the Highlands or cares about tartans. I would venture to say, and I will say, that a probably majority of them don't have a kilt, don't even know what their clan tartan is, or if they have a clan tartan. And that's nothing that's their fault. They're there and they're not as interested in it as we are. So if you were to wear two different tartans, whether it's a clan tartan and a district tartan simultaneously over there, it would still be seen as crossing the streams, even if you weren't, not necessarily from a hard rule area, but from they didn't know that it is, they didn't see the relevance because they don't know, oh, that's the Glasgow district tartan. And I know that this branch of Stewarts is from there. So that must be the person who lived in, they don't know it. They're not putting all those pieces together instantaneously before they even meet you as you approach them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's not the hanky code. No, seriously, I think it would just confuse them. I think you've said this before, is that a lot of people don't even know that district tartans even exist. So they would assume it was another clan tartan, and they wouldn't know what you're doing or why you're doing it necessarily. I think that goes for people over here as well. I think most people just assume, like, what, are you representing two different clans, or did you lose your other tie? I mean, they wouldn't understand. I've said before that there are some rare circumstances where you could bend this, and even I would be fine with it, especially with the sash thing. If you're talking a kilted skirt and a sash on a lady for a wedding, like it's something like, as part of the wedding ceremony, the groom drapes the sash over her to represent being brought into the clan, or vice versa. The then you kind of, it's a ritual occasion, so you could get away with it. But just going out and about to a special event or a festival or something like that, it just looks kind of awkward. And I wouldn't recommend it for a guy or a gal, frankly.
Yeah.
So,
Generally speaking, I'd give it a pass.
yeah, just do one day and the other day if you like them both. Or if you want to represent different aspects of your heritage, like in my case, I will not mix the Stewart and Campbell, which would just be weird. But I will wear Stewart stuff on one day, and another day I'll wear Campbell stuff. So,
yeah, and as we've said before, generally speaking, if I have to have a broad brushstroke kind of thing here, for Highland wear, simpler is generally better. It's easier to look classier by taking a part or two out of the outfit or not going crazy whole hog. Right. What's that the rule? You look at yourself in the mirror and then you take one thing off. Isn't that a fashion thing?
I don't know.
I think it's a women's fashion thing. I don't know.
I don't actually know.
Mac, that's a thing, right?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, Mac said it's a thing.
It's 7 of them.
No, I want to say it's a. I want to say Kelly told me that or something like that.
I get. Yeah, I kind of get it because it's like you have an outfit in your head and you're like, yeah, do all this stuff, and then look and then see what you could do without.
Yeah.
Elegance comes with simplicity. I get that. Just never wear a tweed kilt with a ruche tie and a dress sporn, and you'll be fine.
And a gray tweed jacket.
And a great, and a gray.
Vest, yeah.
It's actually shadow tartan. It's not tweed. It's shadow tartan vest.
So fancy.
Yeah.
So fancy.
Yeah. And absolutely never mix your metals with your watch chain and your sporn. At least my cufflinks match. Cufflinks actually match the kilt. How weird is that?
They should match each other too. You know that, right?
No, I have a Campbell cufflink here and a Stewart cufflink here.
For our next try, we burn Erik at the stake.
Again, yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Yes, Mr. Mac.
All right, so we have Sten17 asking, is bicycling with a kilt possible, or is it more difficult to keep things modest and not make the kilt fly up?
Possible? Yes. Desirable?
We did a my take, or I don't know if you said it, but I had a take on wearing a kilt with a motorcycle, and my general takeaway is no, you probably shouldn't, because you don't want the stuff flapping and hitting the spokes and getting sucked in there and dead. We don't encourage our fans dying. That being said, I saw a video recently of a tutorial of a guy in a kilt who said this is how you wear a kilt on a motorcycle. There was a lot of gathering and bunching and tucking.
Yeah.
Seemed like a whole lot of effort, and I don't know how effective it would be when both hands are on the handlebars driving down the road at 80 miles an hour and the wind whipping up your kilt. But he seemed to think it was effective. Basically tucking everything underneath, tucking everything this way. Folding things. On a bike, the seat isn't going to be as wide.
That's what I was saying.
Things drape down a lot more.
On a motorcycle, you got the bulk of the structure of the bike as well as the saddle.
Yeah.
To kind of monkey around with that stuff. And I have recently, I think it might have been on Kilts and Culture Facebook group, somebody posted an idea of using a diaper pin style kilt pin to pin the back of the kilt to the apron or under apron to give you some modesty if you're riding on something. But I think it's the same problem. And on a bike, you're absolutely right. You wouldn't have. It's just just the frame of the bike and a little saddle.
I will point this out as
all
well.
over the place.
Pinning the front apron or the under apron to the back of the under pleats. When you're seated and you try to pull the pleats from behind you forward and try to pin these two layers together, you're putting a large pointy object with the ability to come unhooked right in your crotch. Less than ideal. Just saying.
I'm going to refrain from all the jokes I could possibly make at this juncture.
I don't think we need any jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We had a question not unlike this on the list. Someone was asking, what did the Highlanders do when they were riding a horse? And the answer is they didn't wear a kilt. That's when they wore trews. In that historical instance, horses were not something that your typical Highlander owned. They barely had even enough shillings to buy a pair of shoes in town. They couldn't even afford to buy shoes. They were not going to own a horse in the environment they lived in. If you had a horse, chances are you wear trews. If you have a bicycle in the 19th century, when the safety bicycle was invented, one of the very first things that happened was they invented that scalloped out frame for the ladies so that it could accommodate a skirt. So you could possibly ride a women's bicycle with your kilt. But the other thing they realized very quickly was that women would do better if they had a split skirt, or bloomer type pants, with bicycling pants for women were invented in like the 1890s because of this problem. So kilts and bicycles don't really mix. I mean, if it's something you gotta do because you're commuting on a bike and you want to wear your kilt to work or something, then okay, then you try some of the tricks that we're talking about. I would wear bike shorts underneath, for lack of chafing and also modesty. But it's really not a garment that's designed to go with that technology.
Yeah, I would
Never
even
has
go,
been.
I would even go further and say, leave the kilt off, fold it up, put it in a backpack, and go to work or wherever you're going on the bike in that, and then strap it on when you get there. The kilt, as much as we love the kilt, you can't tell from me wearing pants today, but
You're totally blowing our cred
I'm
here, man.
screwing everything up. I'm never wearing these again. As much as we love the kilt and we love wearing it daily, aside from today, it's not necessarily suited for all things. Form follows function. You need to wear the thing that will work for the thing.
Right.
So if the kilt doesn't work for you, or frankly, if you're going to screw up the kilt, they're not cheap. Wear the right thing, or wear an old pair of shorts or whatever, and then get into it when you get there.
Yeah. So, again, you could hack it if you're in a situation where you really want to, but it's not ideal. I know utility kilts. I have a survival utility kilt, and it includes
the modesty snap.
It has the modesty snap thing, which is actually a wooden toggle and some elastic band, so you could actually do that, pinning the front and the back together. It looked like diapers. I tried it once, and I hated how it looked, so I never used it again. And it's like, how often am I going to need this anyway? Yeah. But, so yeah, if you're going to do it, I would wear bike shorts at least.
I would also argue
So if your tucking doesn't work, you don't have a problem.
I would argue that the util kilt, being a reverse Kenosi pleating,
Is
or
better.
Kenosi pleating, would be better
I agree.
for that.
I completely
because
agree.
you have the reverse box pleat center of the back,
Yep.
and when you pull it forward, it's not going to screw up all the pleats.
Right.
And then you have, you could just pull just the under apron towards the back, so the front apron still stays flat.
Yeah, and the Kenosi pleats would basically go to the sides of the saddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So that one would be the best suited, and we still don't like it that much.
Nope.
So, don't do it.
Or if you do it, exercise caution.
Yes, indeed.
What? Mac, what's going on?
We just got a response says, do not wear kilts on a mobility scooter unless you want air conditioning.
Yep.
Fair point.
Yep. And I remember Util Kilts did these make your own commercial for us.
Mock-commercials.
The
Yep.
mock-commercials. And one of them was a guy on
A moped or a motorcycle, yeah.
And the joke is he's like going down the street and you can see him from the waist up and he's waving at people and the front of the kilt is like up here in his face and he's just like and women are going like it's just hysterical.
The other problem that I have, just thinking about it real quick, if you're wearing a kilt and it on a bike and it falls down behind you, unless you have a fender on the bike,
could
your
get caught in the
kilt
chain.
is going to get rubbed on the tire. So you could get a
Yeah.
hole worn in your kilt, or you could get the kilt really screwed up from the tire. So yeah, I'm back to
that's why
don't do it.
That's why women in the 1890s modified their fashion if they were avid cyclists.
Yeah, somebody else said about getting caught in a chain.
Yep.
But women's bike was mentioned quite a few times.
Yeah, I think
in the
that would be a
thread
compromise solution. Honestly, I don't know why it's a women's bike. If I'm on a bike
And you're
I
going to
have
go
a risk of-
forward and off? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather go off into air than go off into the top frame of like, seems like it should be a man's
You
bike.
okay? I'm fine.
Yeah,
Nothing's wrong.
I've never understood that, but
Yeah.
okay. Anyway,
Who knows? Not me.
shaggy dog that one.
Exactly. Us never know. We're short-winded. We're
Yeah.
good. Who
All
was
right.
that? You were.
I think that was him. So it's my turn.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Chris Heffron on Facebook was asking us, what is the busiest tartan you have ever had to deal with for production? What was the hardest tartan to work with? And I think we've answered this one before, but it's funny enough to bear repeating. Busiest tartan you've had to work with. And I've seen Mac work on some things which have definitely made his eyes bleed. So
The hardest tartan to work with is, I think we've discussed this before, it's probably Aberdeen. It has a 14-inch set, so it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's even at a 14-inch set, even if you're pleating it to the half set, meaning like a 1-to-7 ratio, half of 14, it's still a difficult one because of how many weird colors are in it. It's difficult to get it to look good one way or the other. The busiest set would be like Ogilvy, that one that's just a lot of little stripes. Mac, what are your thoughts for...
I mean, I still go back to the Black Shadow tartans.
Yep.
I go back to you said earlier, the shepherd check.
shepherd check.
Like being busy. I mean, it's
Yep.
2 colors, but
the set size is half a centimeter.
You can get vertigo when it goes through the machine. So
I when you've had that on the cutting table, sometimes I
it
just
looks
look at
like
it just like,
it like pulsates.
oh, it's like some psychedelic art from the '60s or something. It's just like it's horrible.
Ones that have very, I'll say another one. Things that have, just as a general category, 2 colors that are similar and then have like back and forth stripes. So like a light blue, light green, light blue, light green, light blue, light green in like 6 threads each. So it's tough to tell where one stripe ends and the next one. Like if you're staring at it like real close, you go cross-eyed with this stuff. Especially where the colors overlap each other, and it gets muddled. That can be a little bit difficult. You need glasses. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you're saying that, I was thinking of one. I had a couple come up this week that were very similar in that, where it makes a nice transition look to it.
Yeah.
It kind of gives it a gradient effect. But
Yes, from 10 feet,
Yes,
it looks
right.
cool because it's like a gradient from one color into
Right.
the next. But when you're up on it, trying to keep everything exactly straight and parallel, it can get daunting.
Did I ever show you the picture of the shepherd check Prince Charlie jacket? It's this horrible thing that somebody did. Yeah,
Oh.
I have a picture of a shepherd check Prince Charlie. It is horrible.
I thought didn't we have one come in I thought
Shepherd
we
check?
had a shepherd check. Maybe it was just a vest. It was a vest. That's what
I
it was.
remember a vest.
It was a vest. He got a pair of trousers. He also got a kilt.
Oof.
And maybe a tie, I want to say.
So he's
If
like
that's
doing
your
an 80s
Tartan-
style music video where it's like all static. He's going to disappear into the TV static.
He's got a Max Headroom mask on.
Yeah,
It's all good. Yeah.
Put up a strobe light and he'd be...
If you're watching and that was your outfit, I sincerely apologize. And he's trying to represent his borderers lowland tradition.
Or
there,
if you're from Northumberland,
Yep.
you use that tartan as well.
Yep.
So some people will feel so strongly about their tartan or about their clan or about their district or whatever, and they say, I don't care that Buchanan is neon color, that's my tartan, I gotta wear it. Or same thing with Shepherd Check or with Burns Check or things like or Rob Roy McGregor. Even though it is less than aesthetically pleasing to everyone, putting it mildly, some people are just like, nope, it's loud and I'm proud.
Conversely, we have definitely advised people in the past that if for some reason you do not like your clan's main tartan because you don't find it aesthetically pleasing, you don't have to feel obligated to wear it.
Yeah, or there may be a different colorway, if like using Buchanan again, picking on them, because they make fun of themselves with their own tartan as well.
Yeah.
The Buchanan Modern is a lot of red, a lot of yellow, and then some bottle green. And a lot of Buchanans hate the Buchanan Modern tartan. Buchanan Ancient softens all that a bit. The Buchanan Weathered, I would argue, is a beautiful tartan.
Yeah, weathered is.
Period. So yeah, there's a few different ways to do it, and maybe just by changing the colorway or the color palette of the tartan, you find something you like.
You mean like that Buchanan over your shoulder?
Yes,
You mean that one?
that
Right
one.
there?
I think I just pointed to it. Yeah, that one.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Knew where it was.
Cool.
Psychic. Indeed.
Your turn, Mac.
Hit us, Mac.
All right. So we have Charles asking, what is an ancient tartan and a modern? His history is only with the clan MacDonald, so he's told, but he's curious what the difference is between the ancient and modern.
That is a really good classic question, which we haven't answered in a while, and it's very good to make sure that people who are new to this know that. So, yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
The tartans a tartan is defined by the thread count. For the one I'm wearing here, let's say, 8 white, 2 black, 36 gray, 8 brown, etc. So when you design a tartan, when you register a tartan, you're just saying the main colors. You're not saying necessarily like Pantone color 86723Z for the red. You're just saying red. Now, the mills way back when, because I won't give a date because I'm always wrong with dates. Way back when, the mills would just weave what they thought were good-looking colors and colors that they could sell. So a particular shade of green, a particular shade of blue, a particular shade of red. Over time, it kind of evolved, and people wanted choices, or the mills wanted to give them choice, or give them the ability to buy 2 things, not necessarily just one. So it evolved into modern colored tartans and ancient colored tartans. It doesn't mean that one is older than the other. It means that the ancient colored tartans are meant to mimic plant dyes, meaning they're supposed to look like it. It doesn't mean that they're older than the modern ones. It just means they're meant to look like it. Ancient, modern, weathered, and muted are generally the accepted 4 color palettes, if you're going to speak broadly about it. Ancient is, or I'll start with modern. Modern, the green is going to be a bottle green color, like a beer bottle. The blue is going to be a navy blue. Red is going to be a bold scarlet red. Yellow is going to be a bold yellow color. When you go to the ancient color palette, the red becomes like an orangish kind of color. The green becomes more of a pastel-y light green. The blue becomes sort of a light sky blue. And the yellow becomes a little bit more pale. When you go to muted, the green becomes an olive green. The blue becomes a stormy sky blue. Red becomes more of a blood red, and the yellow becomes a gold. When you move into the weathered color palette, green becomes brown. Blue becomes gray. Red becomes like a salmon-y kind of red. Not pink, but a salmon-y red. And the yellow becomes like a dusty kind of light pale yellow. So it's all the same tartan. So if you have MacDonald modern versus MacDonald ancient, they are both MacDonald. They are both 100% acceptable to wear. They are just a different color palette. Think of it this way. It's kind of like driving a Chevy Malibu in dark green or a Chevy Malibu in light green. It's the same car. It's still a Chevy Malibu. It's just a different color of that car. So it's strictly personal preference. It's which one you like better. One is not older, more historical. It's just personal preference.
Yeah, and sometimes the impression we have of vegetable dye colors is actually more of a sense of colors as we've seen fade over time. Like, this vegetable dye faded, and then people are looking at examples of it, and it looks washed out with the colors that Rocky mentioned. And if you went back and saw the kilt, or the
garment,
the Great Kilt, when it had originally been woven, it very likely could have been as bright as what we consider modern palette, and that's where you get into things like the very specialized color palette of the old Wilson's of Bannockburn colors, where they had a very set of colors they use, which are now considered kind of unique and special, but they don't look weathered or faded or drab or anything like that. So it's definitely a perception thing, and it's definitely more of a modern thing.
1900s.
Yeah, and like we've said, the modern chemical dyes really came in the Victorian age. So it really just comes down to what you like better, how bold you want to be.
Yeah, and the modern and ancient were kind of the first two variants. Wilson's Bannockburn is effectively modern colors with the green being more of an olive green. So it's very, very similar to modern. Modern colors and ancient colors were the first two to kind of become more popular and standardized, if you will. Weathered tartans, or reproduction tartans as they're also known, didn't come into existence until the 1950s with DC Dalgleish basically saying, hey, we found this old piece of cloth and we're accurately reproducing it, so
Looks
we're
like
calling
it sat in the bog.
reproduction, which is a bit of a marketing story, but that's neither here nor there. And then as those colors became kind of popular, Loch Heron did it, I think it was the mid-90s. House of Edgar started doing their muted range, which is similar but not quite the same. So it just kind of evolved over time into giving customers more options for their own personal taste, their own personal flair in their outfit, which colorway they like the best.
Yep.
In my mind, more choices is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I'd say for him, it may be more a question of which McDonald are you following?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
McDonald, Ardnamarkin, McDonald, Clanranald, and
all of those. Yeah.
Indeed. But don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. When it comes to the color palettes of a particular tartan, just go with the one that you like or matches your colors that you're looking for or whatever the best in that particular tartan.
Yep. True dat.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it back to me again already?
Sure.
Wow. Okay. Flip my page here.
Flippity doodah.
Mike Duncan, by the way, thank you for the question about the horses. We pretty much answered that, I guess. Lucas Smales asked us, he said, Highlanders are, or were, known for their unique way of shepherding, reiving, and warfare. But everyone knows that hardworking people and armies move on their stomachs. How did the Highlander people sustain themselves with food supplies when supply trains were near to non-existent? That sounds like a more military slanted question.
And for the record, move on their stomachs, meaning by how much they're eating, not
like
physically.
an army travels on its stomach.
Yeah.
Which I think Napoleon was the first guy to say that. I could be wrong. Chris Hills will tell me. How did the Highlanders feed themselves, Rocky?
Oats. Jam stuff in the sporran.
Yep.
It's reasonably a simple answer. It's, that was what the sporran was for. That was your pocket. That's where you carried stuff. Things you didn't want to lose. Well, you don't really want to lose anything, but still.
Yeah.
You would it's a leather, sporran was originally just the leather pouch that you would take foodstuffs and shove it in there. So then when you're out in the field working, or if you're out overnight and you're far away from home, you have some food to eat with you on you. There's water there. You can constitute some kind of oatmeal, I would guess, or have something to drink at least. But you'd have oats there, so you have something nutritious to eat.
Yep. Again, we're talking about a very materially poor culture. If you're going back to that time period, they had sheep, which were not the sheep you think of now when you see sheep going around the Highlands. The original variety was this smaller pink-nosed one. They had cattle, which, again, interestingly enough, were not the big red Highland coo that we think of now. That's actually...
Say it ain't so.
It's true.
The Heelan coo?
The Heelan coo is a Victorian crossbreed. The original Highland cows were called Kylo, and I'm totally going to make a picture of Kylo Ren as a cow because of that, but Kilo or Kylo, which were a shorter black or brown cow, and they were smaller, just like the sheep. They were smaller. Everything that they cultivated was meant for mobility and ease of dealing with in a very harsh environment. So oats were a de facto thing you could always count on having. I don't get the impression that they necessarily butchered cattle when they were transporting them. It was all about the oats because the cattle was money. You sold them to the lowlanders so they could butcher them or get the leather. So oats, yeah, you could eat them dry. You could make them into an oatmeal with water, or ideally with a little water and the oats, you could basically mix up the material for making bannock bread. So you get to camp that night. If you're lucky, you have a bannock board with you, which is basically a piece of wood with a couple of holes drilled in it, so you can put it kind of vertically near the fire, and you take your oats and your water and make a little cake, slap it on the board, and you let the campfire cook it. That's it.
Kind of like a granola bar.
Yeah, but not
Rudimentary.
as flavorful. Yeah, not as flavorful. No salt, no brown sugar.
No peanut butter, no chocolate, no drizzling on top, no honey.
No, the Irish are noted for their peanut butter. No. And there's an anecdote that Montrose was able to move troops up to like 60 miles on nothing but oats, and they were still battle ready by the end. So, and that's the original, the uprising, not the 45, the other one. 17, 15?
Their gastrointestinal tract must have been like a locomotive.
Yeah, well, but yeah, it was basically oats was the way of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hearty, easy to gather, easy to have, easy to carry, easy to...
Right, and then meat on special occasions, but you didn't really butcher animals unless you really had to, or if it was that time of the year where they weren't going to survive the winter. So...
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
Indeed.
Ta-da!
Mr. Mac.
All right.
Kylo the cow.
Is that how we pronounce it?
I don't know, but it still made me laugh when I read it. I was just like, I think cows were called Kylo. So.
I think we should say Kilo and Kylo so we can overdub it and make sure that we're correct later on.
Probably a good idea.
I don't know. I looked up the spelling of that, and I don't know. I don't know how you would say that. I don't know if it's like...
Or it's Kylu or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are not Gaelic speakers. We're not Scots speakers. We do our best.
Don't pretend to be.
We love this. Yeah, we don't pretend to be. We love this stuff. We live for this stuff, obviously. But we do our best. Forgive us. Mr. Mac.
All right. So we have Ian asking... He has kilts that are wool and fit well around the waist because they were made correctly with excess fabric cut away from the inside. But is it common to have a kilt made without excess fabric being cut away? Could I have that fixed, or would that be costly?
He's talking about scalloping?
Yeah, talking about scalloping out. Yeah. When you have an 8-yard kilt, you have effectively an 8-yard kilt. You have 1 yard of cloth for the front apron, 1 yard for the under apron, 1 yard for the front apron, and then you have 6 yards pleated up across the back. And when you pleat up 6 yards of cloth, it gets pretty thick. Like I would say 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch. So as a kilt maker, what we do is, because you don't want to carry all that weight around and all that heat, we actually scallop out the insides of the kilt up in the upper portion. Then we take a horsehair canvas lining, we line it inside that, we steek it, and then we cover it up with a cotton lining so you don't see all the nastiness in the inside of the kilt. If you don't scallop that out, it would be really, really difficult to sew because you're trying to sew through, 3/4 of an inch of fabric.
Right.
And B, it would be very, very, very hot.
I feel like wearing a bath towel around it, like or a sumo wrestler thing, it'd be like super thick.
Not in the front, just in the back, it would be super thick.
All right.
But yeah.
So it'd be like a back brace then.
Yeah. So you need to cut it out. Period. Can it be done if yours isn't done? Yes, but you're talking about taking a kilt halfway apart and then reconstructing it. I've seen exactly what you're talking about. I've seen kilts that don't have the inside scalloped out on an 8-yard kilt. In that case, they probably also don't have the horsehair canvas and all the reinforcements on the inside. They're also probably not steeked. So to do it the right way, yes, would be pretty expensive because you'd be paying someone, or you'd be doing it yourself, to take out the lining and then take off the waistband, scallop all the stuff out, steek the bottom of each of the pleats, sew them all together, put in the horsehair canvas. You'd have to hand sew the eyelet for putting the strap through on the left side of the kilt. So, and then hand sew the lining back in the kilt, all from cloth that you already have, and hoping you don't make any mistakes. Because if you make a mistake, then it could, screw it up. So, yeah, I hope you didn't pay too much for it.
Is this something that happens when it's a homemade or cottage industry made kilt?
No.
Or is it a fast mass production made overseas kind of thing where they just... How does it happen? Because I can't imagine...
I've seen it a few different ways. I've seen... and let me actually take a half step back. Not all kilts need the fabric scalloped out on the inside.
If it's a lighter material or a thinner material?
Or if it's a 5-yard kilt.
Okay.
If there's less yardage, on a 5-yard kilt, you have 1 yard for the under apron, 1 yard for the over apron, and then 3 yards across the back.
Okay.
3 yards stacked up isn't real thick. Therefore, you don't need to scallop everything out because you don't scallop it out. You don't need the horsehair canvas, yada, yada, yada. For kilts that I've personally seen like that, where basically Pakistani kilts, where it takes time to do the scalloping. It takes time to put in the horsehair canvas. It takes time to hand sew the bottom of the lining down. So it is generally a corner that is cut. The 2 times I've seen it are from Pakistani kilts, where they do a higher yardage kilt.
Okay.
And I've also seen, I won't name the maker in Scotland, but one of the mills had a ton of extra cloth, and they just wanted to kind of get a bunch of kilts out there as quickly as possible, and they skip that step to be able to throw something out in the market at a lower price point, so that they're not, it's a $300 8-yard kilt versus a $500 8-yard kilt, because they took a lot of the internal steps out of the construction process. Now, it's cheaper, but you deal with a thick back, like weightlifting belt that you're strapping on, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And you deal with the heat issues. But I've seen it happen. It's not the right way to do it.
But you can't just go in and cut that stuff out of a kilt you already have.
You can. It's
going to be
you should know what you're doing. Don't if you haven't sewn, you've hand sewn a couple buttons on, don't try this. You could take it to a kilt maker if they do the alterations, and they could do it for you, but you're talking probably a couple to a few $100s, because it's going to take a good chunk of change or a good chunk of time to rip it apart and put it all back together.
I think I know what the answer is.
Buy a new kilt.
Yeah, if you're not satisfied with a kilt, sell it on eBay and put the money towards a new kilt.
Yeah. Especially if it fits you well, it's kind of one thing.
I was confused whether... I think he said he had some that he could tell were scalloped and they fit well, but this one didn't. Is the impression I was getting from the phrasing of the question.
Mac,
that
did he
this
say
one
that?
was not scalloped and it felt wrong.
That's kind of... Well,
Okay.
and I don't think he meant that there was one that felt wrong. He's noticed that on these, this one didn't seem to have
It felt thicker.
Okay.
Does it?
Okay.
Does it need to
Okay.
have it? Does it not need
Okay.
to have it? That's
So if he's looking at a 5-yard or 4-yard kilt, then maybe it's fine. If he's looking at an 8-yard,
Yeah. No, it's generally speaking, it is a cost-cutting practice, which, especially on 8-yard kilts, which some companies do because they don't want to take the time and or effort and or they just want to sell it at a cheaper price point. And by saving that time, they can sell it at a cheaper price point.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we got time for one more. Mr. Mac, why don't you regale us, or at least tell us your last question?
Or you just gale us once, then you regale us later.
Yes.
So I think we've asked this before, but this is a good one to kind of bring back up. We have Clark asking, how do you prevent your kilt pleats from curling up on the side?
The pleats or the apron?
He's saying pleats. I'm going to guess he means the apron.
We can kind of do both. If your kilt pleats are curling up on the side, basically what I would do is lay it flat, and then with a press cloth, I would press in, lay it flat and get them all as organized and straight and aligned as possible. Then using a press cloth, press the very, very bottom of the pleats, making sure that they're exactly perfect, and put some pressure on it with a damp cloth to kind of steam them. Once they're done, take the press cloth off, let it dry for a sec or for a few minutes, then flip it over and do the inside as well, trying to maintain the exact same alignment on the inside. If it is the front edge of the kilt, the left-hand side of the front apron, it's generally either due to the shaping of the kilt, to the tightness of the hip buckle, the width of the front apron. There's a few different reasons for it, for the split between the waist and the hips. It is, to some degree, the bane of kilt maker's existence, especially if you don't have the person in front of you to be able to say, okay, let me just do a little bit here and have fittings for the kilt. For us, we don't meet 80 to 90% of our customers. They provide the measurements, we make the kilt to the measurements, and send it in the mail, and as long as the measurements were accurate, it should fit well, kind of thing. Mac, any input off of that? Nope.
No, I think you got it.
That's it.
Yeah. The only thing that you could do is either A, try loosening the hip strap on the right side of the kilt a little bit. That may create less pulling on the right-hand side. Option B is take the however much it's curling and basically give it a new edge. So if it's curling up a little bit, pinch it where it wants to lay, and then re-iron from the very bottom up to the hip along that same line. You're giving the front apron a new crease, a new edge, and that should help keep it over and around your body a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
It's not the only fix. It's not necessarily... It's one of the only fixes on a reasonably easy level. It's not necessarily the only one, though. So give it a try and see if that works for you. Indeed.
Cool.
Very good. Anything else we want to get to, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. I am tired, and it's time for my nap. Anyway, boys and girls, question of the day.
Okay.
Today, we did... What did I call it? The gritty fuel.
Gritty fuel.
I'm still calling it gritty fuel. I don't care. I don't care which one went. It's gritty fuel to me, buddy. Guinness and Irn Bru mixture. We need help. Tell us, what do you want to see us try? What Scottish, Irish, Welsh, Celtic-y thing? What cocktails? What scotch? What foodstuffs? What disgusting, horrid thing
or cool
should we ingest? No, just disgusting and horrid.
Just disgusting? Okay.
Now you can do cool too. But what do you want to see us try on the show? We need suggestions, so load them in the comments. Let us know what you want to see us try on the show next time. That being said, thank you all for watching. Until next time, boys and girls, Slàinte mhath. Everything is Blackwatch. Everything is cool when you're Scottish like me. Everything is Blackwatch.